Let's begin our Photoshop journey. Now, it's really important to know what device and also what version of Photoshop you're using. I'm going to be operating from a MacBook Air. You can see on the screen that I have Adobe Photoshop CC, which is Creative Cloud 2015.5. So yours might look a little bit different if you have an older version or a different version, but I will try to account for that, or you can do a little bit of investigative reporting and find those options. We're first going to just start with the left-hand side. Okay, you have two options: to choose a new Photoshop document or to open a Photoshop document. Now, if Photoshop has a file extension of .psd, so you can open a PSD, you can open a .pdf, which is a portable document format. You can open an image also, but anything other than that cannot actually be opened inside of Photoshop. On the right-hand side, these are different templates. Mostly these are sizes of templates and also resolution, and we'll get to resolution later. But essentially, your resolution on a print document and a photo document are obviously going to be much, much higher because you're going to have to see the clarity. And then anything designing for the web is going to be less resolution. The sizes over here on the right hand side. For example, if you're going to be doing a mobile app or designing some kind of a document for a mobile app and you're working on a 6+, it gives you the dimensions in pixels and then gives you the resolution, 72 dpi. So I answered my own question. So you can see how it jumps from 300 dpi, which is a higher resolution, to 72 dpi, which is your electronics resolution. So we're going to go ahead and just click on open, or new, excuse me, and talk for a second. So this is I'm going to put our test run, and I can change my height and width. If I want to operate in pixels, that's great. If I want to operate in inches, that's fine also. As far as what color mode, for purposes of our class, we're going to do RGB, CMYK. Just make sure you're not in grayscale, because if you are in grayscale, then you cannot use color. So we're just going to leave it as RGB. I have a tendency to operate in transparent. It's personal preference, whether you want to operate in the white background or the background color itself. I tend to choose transparent because I'm not sure what I'm going to like after I get through the project itself, and I can always change that. So when I click OK, this is the first little window that pops up. Everything is going to roll through essentially your tools on the left and then your options toolbar. Now this is dynamic, meaning that when I click on a tool on the left, my options for that tool change on the top. So for example, the first tool is the move tool. So then I have different options for my move tool on the left. If I want to go down to a simple tool like T for text, which is pretty standard, then my font choices and lots of different options will pop up. Now this is what's called a panel program. So even though this is your toolbars on the left hand side, options toolbar on the right hand side, we have something called panels, which is over on the right hand side. This is color. When I toggle swatches, adjustments, layers is going to be your most important. Channels, paths, this is just kind of my default. I can go up to the function window and all of my panel choices are shown below. If it has a check mark by it, that means that you're already seeing it. If it doesn't have a check mark by it, you can click on it and a panel will show up. Now there are things to fly and dock. So if I want to work with my layers panel, I click and drag on the word layers and that flies this panel. I can make the panel larger or smaller. I can click back on the word layers and I can dock when I get a blue square around, and that is flying and docking your panels. It can get a little overwhelming. I like a lot of panels on my screen. Some people do, some people don't. Some people prefer to have them all hidden and then go find them. So that's all under the window function. And if something happens, because this does happen, that you have lost all your toolbars or your panels, you can always go back to window, workspace, and then back down to reset essentials, and it will reset from default.